much better lighting today, and then it got darker. The thing always just goes darker when I go to record, and it's like it was all perfectly well balanced. It's like much better lighting, and then now it's just darker. It sucks. Alright, well, whatever. I'm gonna try to do this as best I can with primitive editing, i.e. just pushing the pause button while I watch 8 episodes of the new series She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Now I roll my eyes at that because in the past episodes I've made about the my feelings on the concept of woke and being woke and modern, and it's like but yes, let's take a fair look at this. But let's see where I stand right now. Right now, my feelings are basically the same feelings as everyone else's. When they say sexualized or sexy, they actually mean mature and actually looks like a woman. These characters look prepubescent, honestly. There's no real gender assigned to any of them. And giving She-Ra bicycle shorts instead of a skirt, honestly, I couldn't care less on that change. Okay, you gave her shorts. Alright. It's a little bit more practical wear. Sure. It's everything else that's silly, because it's like you have this cast of mostly dominant females, but then when there's a guy that's supposed to be a guy, it's like, that doesn't even look like a boy. It looks more like this non-gender assigned character, like the rest of them. It's like, where's the gender? If there's supposed to be a gender, there's supposed to be signs of that. Even prepubescent boys look like boys. Prepubescent girls look like girls. Granted, there are times when things seem rather interchangeable. There still seems to be at least a good general consensus of what it is you're looking at. This doesn't really have that, so like in the episode of King of the Hill where Luann works at the golf course and her instructor, who she would be working with or under or replacing, I'm not entirely sure which, where she says, the instructor says that about that she's worked here for so many years, has never been harassed, and it's like, and Luann says, I thought you were a guy. And it's like, this feels like that. Like, they're not really they're giving you something very vague to work with here. But it's more about character progression than their gender, and that's where all this is kind of running kind of stupid. And of course, making them more cartoony-ish is what's hurting the show. Because, if it's about a princess, a gender, you should be able to see it's an actual gender. But being vague about it, like we were with Avatar and early Princess Bubblegum's relationship, is at the middle of the road. It's too hard, so that it just comes off as vague, and really you're trying to pull this one over on us again. Anyway, yes, enough rambling. On to the review. Episode 1. Let's go on here. Netflix. Come on. The Sword, Part 1. Okay, so I just saw episode 1, and I could see a lot of what they're talking about. Yes, so, like they said, yes, the animation is good. Is it a little flat sometimes? Yes. Um, because they have like zoom, because they're having like pans where like stuff's moving side to side as you're progressing forward, and then it's like, well, we're zooming in on a canvas shot, obviously rather than anything else. So that's like a bit of mishmash animation as there's supposed to be like the camera going forwards into something. Um, Character dynamics, you understand the setup of this thing, what a sheltered life is. We all know what a sheltered life is. But to have her believably have Adora, because Adora in the original story, remember, I actually was raised in the 1980s. I've seen She-Ra and originally aired on television. And no, I was too young to have an opinion. I was like, what, 4? Anyway, yes. So Adora in the original series was raised to adulthood believing that she was fighting on the righteous side, the side of order, you know, and to a fair stand that was believable, but then to ever say, oh, wait, I was wrong the whole time. I was really fighting for the bad guys, and then have everybody switch and not have an emotional backlash or fallout from that is rather not very believable because, formulaic, uh, cheesy plot lines and stuff. So it had a lot of other different stuff working for it. This has them as, I swear, Adora's like the only real vaguely competent character in this show that actually knows what she's doing. When we're introduced to the first princess, um, am I the only one that got the feeling that she's supposed to be like Squirrel Girl because she's not thin? It's like women can be plus size. It's like I've seen plus size. That's just a few pounds overweight. There's a difference between that and a lot of what you're supposed to like. You're trying to represent is the plus size. It's like being vaguely plus size doesn't make you a spokesperson for the plus size people. I'm sorry, it does not really compute. It's like, and this character is clearly not capable of doing much of anything. I could teleport and then I throw sparkles in your face. Oh, God. It's just like, and then she's wondering why her mother has no confidence in her, trying to defend and then run away and then saying, well, you're pathetic at it or something. I didn't quite understand the fight. It's like, what did she actually fail at? She failed at defending a village you sent her to not even be in attack, and then she failed at something that was never even supposed to happen or very unlikely to happen. It's more like I'm trying to protect you nonsense and then getting angry at the fact that your plan failed. The mother's plan failed. Um, so instead of blaming herself, saying, well, see, my plan failed to protect my daughter out of, keeping her out of harm's way. Might as well just blame my daughter for failing to protect the village that I sent her there to protect in the first goddamn place, but to never really happen. So it gets kind of stupid. It's like they're having a stupid fight. You see that Ketra and Dora are going to have their emotional falling out, which is only supposed to be the only real emotional breakup you're only supposed to feel for in the next coming episode or episodes. But you see Adora having social connections with other characters that I'm guessing are not even going to be very prominent or very 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 side characters. But you see the fact that Adora having a sheltered life is a bit more believable. Or as much as it was in the original series. That is the really real thing on point. It's like, you really don't know anything about this? No, I thought we were keeping order. Fair enough. Fair enough, show. Fair enough. It's just the level of competency we're supposed to be. These are our heroes, ladies and gentlemen. It's like, really? The only real person with talent is She-Ra or Adora. And then secondly is the archer guy. Yeah, he can shoot an arrow. Good for you, mate. And then the princess say, I could teleport with really good accuracy. Okay. So it just descends in that order, and it's like, and these are your heroes, folks. Can we kind of not have the unlikely duo again? Like, comp, capability, competency problem? Like, and then they're gonna pull off all this shit because they work together as a team. It's like, you gotta have to do better than what we're seeing here in the first episode so you can actually do more as a team. Anyway. But it sets itself up fairly well for a good intrigue concept. The story kind of draws you in a fair amount. But let's see what Sword Part 2 gets us. Alright, well, that was a bit unexpected. This episode's 2 emotions and drama seemed pretty much earned. Their dynamics are a bit odd. The character dynamics. And it's like they're trying to showcase that they really are ill-prepared for the world that they are living in. And that's pretty much it. But I feel I know what they're going for. Like, they're trying to add a lot of Steven, like some concepts of Steven Universe and Witch, particularly Witch, with its themes of everyone has like their own little power. And it's not entirely clear as to why Adora keeps switching back and forth between She-Ra and Adora. Like, she can't keep the form more up for like more than a minute or so. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. Limitations to powers, we've seen that with Glow, Glimmer, or what, Glimmer. And so yeah, okay, limitations with superpowers. It's not just this endless supply of ability. It's like a battery. It has to, it has to take its toll somehow. It has to have a limitation. So yeah, I understand that. But unlike Witch, which is a good show by the way, when they transform, they actually become older versions. Especially in season 1, they become 2 to 4 years older versions of themselves. Especially that first joke back in when they first transform. But like in this is like, if I'm going to become like looking like an older version of myself, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to be taller and like look slightly different. It's like, well, if she's supposed to look older, shouldn't she look older? Again, that's where the cartoony art style kind of works against it, because it's like, oh, I just made myself taller, but with new clothes, it's like, that's not how it's not how older versions of females look, kid. I'm sorry, it just kind of comes off as, no, I just grew an extra foot. That's what works against it. But other than that, everything else seems earned. The emotions and everything. So now let's get into the lull of the series, because now we're going to because now it's going to get into the episodic stuff. So let's see how cliche this series can be. On the edge of greatness, turning darkness to light. Alright, I'll give this show proper credit. It's really starting to pick up now. They tried to introduce Adora, Horde Captain, to Bright Moon. And of course, standard hijinks ensue. Misunderstanding finds old lady out in the middle of the woods, who tells her that she was not necessarily the first She-Ra, and that She-Ra was at least a legend or something that might have existed before. back with the first one. So, all in all, that was a rather satisfactory episode. I give you props, show. Adora finding herself of what she needs to do. Apparently, like that just wasn't obvious enough. Defeat the Horde. It's like, it's all you have to do. It's like, but I don't know what to do. What the truth is. Like, you're still struggling with that. You already saw what the reality is. But now, what's my place in that reality? It's like, defeat the Horde. But still, we have to flush it out completely. But anyway, now that that's settled and she's been accepted by the Queen Mom, now she has to kind of more win over the people, or at least people in the castle. Well, let's see how that goes in this exciting episode. Flowers for She-Ra.
We're right beside you, ready to fight.
Okay, so basically this is where they meet the plant princess, or flower princess episode, and they say how the Legends of She-Ra, I'm guessing the previous one, I'm guessing they're making reference to the 1980s series. But you know, it's, we get our hopes up, and then we'll kind of turn against you and realize you're not as, not what we thought. But then that inspires them for the hippies to fight for themselves. And was it just me, or was this flower princess reminiscent of Cordelia from Witch? You know, tall, blonde, with flower power. Just saying. Just kind of reminds me of that. Strange. Oh, and also nobody has an actual adult developed body in the show still. You know, and it isn't just because it's like under layers of armor. It's like, no, nobody has tits in the show. It's like, these people are supposed to be teenagers? Like, nobody. It's like, it's a little annoying, honestly. It's like, we're adults. It's like, yeah, adults, sure, right. It's like, yeah, not realistic because it just takes you out because there's supposed to be something. Anyway, but yes, the episodes are getting good. The good dynamic between the characters. We're getting the formulaic of reunite the Princess Council. So that's pretty good. But it's a good place to start. It doesn't feel like, repetitive, probably because this is not a 24 or 24 episode TV series. This is a 12 episode miniseries. Now, but it's holding my attention. Has good emotion and decent comedy and decent dynamics between its characters. And it's keeping up its emotional strains, its contractions, but forces. Everybody has emotions. They have emotional stakes in things. So they're not just being evil for evil's sake. They're being evil for relatively understandable reasons that you can feel, which is nice. Thank you. Okay. This episode was pretty good. But it went into, having to go around to the different princesses' kingdoms because they've all been separated because the alliance fell apart with all the parents. So then the kids saying, well, why don't we get together? So the contrivances of having to go to the different kingdoms, the reasons is like, oh, we go over here today, and in this episode we'll go over here today, So it's a bit contrived, and it's like, that's a bit thin. It's a little bit thin, but whatever. You have to progress the plot. But okay, that aside, then they get to Shantytown to find a captain because they got to go out to the sea to get the sea princess. And then they said, and then suddenly this episode fucking parodies Star Wars and then Steven Universe. I'm not making this up. Because we go into like that cantina scene where they meet this swashbuckling guy who totally parodies Star Wars because we have to have the parody of Han Solo. Thankfully, they leave out the part of who shot first. I really hate the fact they sped up the footage to say like, well, Han maybe he didn't shoot first. And it's like, yes, he shot first. Actually, I thought he did more of a bank shot, but didn't know. It turns out he just shot Guido straight on. But whatever. Anyway, so and then with Scorpion, the introduction of Scorpion, and then all of a sudden there's Jasper. It's like, wait, what? That's Jasper with claw hands. That doesn't. Wait, what? It just gets a little kooky there. It gets a little kooky there, but good back and forth between She-Ra and Catra. That's always pretty good. Keeping the tension up, but the dramatic tension between the characters. Yeah, and a wooden burning ship against a metal ship. There is no contest. The metal ship should have obviously won, but it's because the boat's on fire. It totally won. It's like, that doesn't even make any sense. Alright. So that episode was pretty good. The setup for the next episode looks a bit better. Systems failure. Let's go on with that. Okay, so the more parodies abound. Another two. This time just in one character. Which is saying this is a lot less parody pain, not as painful as in the previous episode. Where we have a character named Entrapta, who is a princess of technology, who finds they keep calling it a disc, but it looks more like a triangle that she connects to her network, trying to understand first one's code, and then it affects the robots, and when She-Ra shows up, it affects her through the sword, and then it's up to the motley crew of the chefs and servers to help save the day with a sonic arrow. Yes. Forced foreshadowing is still annoying. But whatever. So this one, the Princess Entrapta looks like Hazude Miku, and is voiced and has the personality of Washu from Tenchi Muyo, with tentacle hair. So yeah, there's that. Which is this character I reframed it on for as part of the opening song. So yeah. All in all, still a interesting concept episode, if not 100% fulfilling, because that's rely on lesser characters to come in and save the day, because you can't come in and force your way through a situation. You gotta think through, which is still it tries to deliver a message but fails. It's like, just be an entertaining episode. You don't have to be a lecture episode. It's okay to leave out the lecture part. It's okay. Not an episode has to have like a moral to it. Whatever. Continuing. Well, this episode was definitely better than the last. So they're getting progressively better. Surprising. This episode they go to Manticore to meet with Glimmer's aunt, and Adora does not know what an ant is. They see, was it Wind Spinner? Something Spinner? That's the backstory of, what's her name? shadow dancer. Oh, I forget. Anyway, yeah. So we see the mom, the character who raised Adora. We see her backstory a bit. We see Adora being driven like over the rails by her, basically her stepmom. But we see a lot of character development and the struggle and more commitment to that I'm not going back to my old life, and that she was lied to this whole time. So it's a good, strong character episode. Uh, but strangely enough, without a whole lot of with a whole lot of magical, like it's the magical center. There are tons of wizards there, and yet nobody felt the shadow that was there, and the barrier that keeps out evil let in evil. It's like that doesn't make any sense. So what was the point of the big protection, concept if it just lets them just waltz right on in, you know? So, but yeah, still getting a little bit of that witch vibe. Weird, but yes, still a good series. Okay, last few episodes because I'll have to split this up into another one. I can only put so many episodes on my phone, on supposed to this one. Anyway, yes, Princess Prom. Probably the best episode so far. It's cliched, but it's overshadowed. Well, let me get into the concept of the episode. Is that once every century, the neutral kingdom of Princess Snow, Kingdom of Snow, puts on, or Winter Wonderland, puts on a ball. It's neutral territory. So she's the popular princess, and she's 10 for whatever reason. And so all the princesses are 10, including Scorpia, who turns out is also a princess. Damn it, Jasper! So, sorry. So, Catra goes as Scorpia's +1. They go there, and it's all supposed to be peaceful because it's neutral territory. And standard hijinks ensue. Glimmer feels everything's changing. We're no longer a duo. We were a trio. That was fine. But now you got a date. You're gonna leave me behind, etc., etc. So that happens. And then in the middle of all this, we had the ball's first dance, and it's I want to say forced plot point, or storyline, or subplot, character dynamic, whatever the fuck you want to call it, between Adora and Catra. So they're dancing together, and you get the sense that, are they just still besties, or is this something more here? It's like, what are you trying to tell me there, show? It's like, you still trying to pull off what other shows have done, like in Steven Universe and Adventure Time and Avatar, where it's like, could it be that there's something more? Because we see them with brief moments of they care, and care a lot, a little bit more than they thought they did. And yeah, that just overshadows it. Okay, I'm gonna pick this up in another episode for the next, episode 9 on through, on another video. So whenever that is, probably later on tonight. Alright, take care. Bye.